If you love lasers and making things as much as I do, like and subscribe, of course, and we'll get on with the video. Hey, welcome to another Valley Forged. So today I am going to show you how I make my Italian leather wallets. And anybody could do this. You could do it on your laser, and it works so well. It is literally, if you have a diode laser, 10 watt is what I have, but I'm pretty sure anything 5.5 watt and above, you're going to be able to make this perfectly. Just a matter of getting your right settings. So let's start from the beginning. Which wallet did I pick? I've been watching Make Supply for a while because I just enjoy their videos, and so I wanted to support them. I have no affiliation or anything. They give you a free PDF pattern watching their video. I downloaded that. It does not have the holes in it, which of course you can do yourself, but for this video, I'm not going to show you that. I do have a video a few videos ago showing you how to make stitch holes in leather, but you're not going to need that for this video. If you just go to Etsy, you can go to Make Supply here. Just put in leather wallet SVG, and you'll see a whole bunch of leather wallets here that you can download and make. So you can kind of pick whichever one that you like. Believe me, once you get used to doing this, you can modify it and make this into anything you want. But I think it's good just to get your feet wet, get a pattern. Now this one from Make Supply costs $10. That's, maybe a lot for some people to get into something to see if they like it. But if you just go down a little bit, it looks like somebody else has that almost exactly the same wallet ready, laser ready right here for $1.80. So we'll click on that one. I support, like I said, I support Make Supply, so I didn't mind paying them the $10. You see this one already ready to go, $1.80. You can modify this any way you want to. And I think this is a really good beginner wallet. It's not super simple to where you're not going to learn anything. And it's a really good actual wallet. This is the wallet I carry every day, and I absolutely love it. But again, any SVG will work as long as you've got the holes or you want to make the holes yourself. So that's the first step. Now we've got a pattern for the wallet, and that you can put that into Lightburn. Now you can see I have my logo here, but I have it turned off because we're going to actually make this wallet together. And I'm going to go through everything step by step. That pattern's now down in Lightburn. I have this separated because sometimes I do the dual colors like they have in the Make Supply wallet. So you'd want to cut out one out of one color and one out of the next. Now this particular one, I'm doing all one color, and I'm doing olive. So I think the next thing we're going to talk about is the leather itself. So you've got the pattern, you've got it downloaded. Now you're going to need some leather. What kind of leather do you want to get? I would suggest a 3-ounce leather. Works really great with the diode, and it makes beautiful, very comfortable wallets. Now I use all vegetable tan. I don't use anything chrome tan. You will realize that leather does have a smell to it, a burnt smell to it. I do mine outside, so I don't really get that in my house, but it's something you should know about. Now, if you're doing veg tan, I don't believe that it's toxic, but it does have a smell. You can get this kind of leather. All you're going to need is about a 12 by 12, so 12 inches by 12 inch square. You can get it pretty cheap. The thing is that's great for learning. In fact, I bought a piece like this, and about a 12 by 36 just to practice with, just to make some easy wallets with and see how it goes. Did I like working with leather? Yada, yada, yada. But in the end, your wallet's not going to look that great using this leather, but it is great for practicing. Okay, I'm going to break in here real quick just to save you a ton of money. Instead of buying leather to do your prototypes with, go to the craft store or online, get some foam, just some regular, foam that kids use to make projects. And it works perfectly for doing prototypes. I've used it several times, and all you have to do, you cut it out the exact same way that you would. Of course, the settings are a lot higher. And then you can just glue it together. I use the same glue that I used for the leather, the Aqualim 315 glue. I just love that glue because it's non-toxic. It doesn't smell. Now for leather, a lot of times people will say use barge, but it's very toxic. It gives you a headache. And the Aqualim is water-based and it works really well. So I use the same glue and I glue this together just like I would if it were a wallet, and you can actually use it. You could literally let this dry and you can use it for as a wallet for a day. The cards will go in it. Everything will work exactly the same way. I did this same thing when I made a purse for my mother. And in some ways it comes out better than the real thing. I swear it's hilarious, but yeah, definitely the way to go. And I highly suggest doing that. Now let's get back to the video. And then when you're ready to step up and make your proper wallets, these are the ones I sell on Etsy. And so far it's going really well. I mean, I've had it up for about a month and I've already sold 4. I'm not really trying that hard. From what I understood, these days it takes a few months to start selling on Etsy, so I wasn't expecting anything. So it was, a nice surprise to be able to make a little cash. As I said in my business making videos, that I am doing this with you. I am starting stores, I'm starting Instagram, I'm starting all of these things together now, and so that I can actually show that I have done it. And so if you're interested in, doing any sort of business with a laser, I'm here to show you how. And right now we're doing leather wallets. So this is where I get my leather from Buckle Guy. And it's my favorite place. Now there is a place called Rocky Mountain Leather, which is also very good. And it's the other one I go to when I can't get it from Buckle Guy. And there are many times where this stuff is sold out. I like the 2.5 to 3 ounce myself, but that can be a little thin for some people. 3.5 to 4 ounce may be more your standard, but I like my wallet thin. I like it soft, and this is what I'm using. So if you go with a 2.5 to 3 ounce and then you go with 2 square feet, you're going to see $42. Now you only need 1 square foot. So you can do this any way you want, but you need $100 for free shipping. So I buy usually over $100. I find the shipping from Buckle Guy is much quicker than from Rocky Mountain, and I like the way they package it better. So this is just usually the way I go with it. And it really is a beautiful leather to work with. And so any of the leathers that they have that are veg tan are going to be great. I just particularly sell mine as Italian leather wallet, so I use these. And so you have a limited amount of colors, and the colors are actually darker than it looks on the screen, and that's not really their fault. If you go out and take a picture of the wallet in the light, it is going to look very similar to these colors, but then when you look at it in your house, it's going to be quite a bit darker. So this would be the leather that I would choose, and just working with a nice leather is so much easier than working with a cheap leather. It really, I know this is true in a lot of industries where just working with nice materials is all so much better. And that brings me to the next topic, which is thread. I mean, you're going to cut this out. Now, how are you going to sew it together? Now, if you have an industrial sewing machine or a sewing machine it's 2.5 to 3 ounce leather, most sewing machines will do that. So if this is something you're good at, you can go that way. I hand stitch all of mine. And so you're going to need a thread. Now the threads that you get from, say, an Amazon, to me, were complete garbage for doing things like wallets. It's too thick. It looks terrible. It's just not worth it. So what I needed to get is a good thread. Well, thread is very expensive. I ended up going with the Ritza Tiger thread. You can read about it. It's a fantastic thread that will last forever. And this is, I believe, the same thread that they used on the Make Supply video. It looks very similar. A lot of professionals use it, but it is very expensive. So I got this pack that has all these different colors in it. And I have used most of them because I just love making these wallets. So I end up, mixing and matching all of these colors and all these leathers and threads. So it's really nice to have all of these. But the Ritza Tiger thread is kind of a flat thread versus round. And so it does look a little bigger. You're not going to get that really small stitch look from it. You're going to get what you see in mine and also in this video for Make Supply. So if you like something a lot more thin, there are other threads to go with. My personal favorite, of course, is the expensive one, which is Lin cable from France. I mean, this stuff is absolutely gorgeous. But, paying $38 for some thread in one color can be, just think about if you got all the colors that I have in the Ritza, how expensive that is going to be. So, but if you're only, you're going to use one color a lot, it may be worth it. Also, the Lin cable, it's going to last a long time, but not as long as the Tiger thread because this is actual linen and you are going to need to wax it. So you can look up a video on how to do all that if you want to get into this. If you don't want to go ahead and buy $110 worth of thread, which I totally understand, you can go to Amazon and they will sell you a much smaller amount. And this is the Tiger thread. This is the good stuff. And it's waxed, it's ready to go in a smaller, and it's only $12. So that's a good way to go. It comes with the John James needles, which are the exact needles I use and a lot of professionals use. So right now you're going to get, for $12, you're going to get the needles you need and the thread you need, and it comes in a bunch of different colors. So now you've got your thread and you've got your leather. You're going to go ahead and cut it out. Now, when it comes to settings, of course, I did a video on leather and doing the settings for your leather. You don't use air assist. And once you get your settings down, like for my LaserMaster 3, I'm going at 300 speed and 40% power, and it cuts it perfectly every time. I don't get any black marks on my hands from the edges. It's just clean. It's pretty. It's precise. It's like butter. And you can tell how happy I am about it. It's just, I love working with this stuff on the laser. It's just so amazing. And this would be a great way to do a personalized, and you see a lot of on Etsy, like personalized leather wallets where somebody can tell you their initials or their name or whatever, and you can put it on and make it to order. This would be a great business. I personally, just right now anyway, don't have the patience for that. I have a couple logos that I made a circle in the wallet so that I can, make special occasion stuff. And I've sold those and it works really well for me. But as far as like getting personal with the customers on all that, I just don't have time. I'm concentrating on making videos and things like that. But if you want to do that as a business, wonderful idea. So you've got your settings, you've cut it out. Now you've got this pattern, you've got this wallet, you're ready to sew it together. What kind of tools are you going to need? Now I spent way too much on tools and thread and all these other things, not knowing what I was doing. I initially started learning how to do leather because I was making leather wooden purses from my laser and I needed to make the handles, right? So I spent so much money on leather and tools and materials and everything to learn how to do this. And when it came right down to it, I don't use most of them. And a lot of these YouTube channels, they'll teach you how to do this and they'll show you all these tools. I actually end up using the rougher. It's crazy enough. You can use anything you want. You could probably use a butter knife and it will work just great. But the thing to rough up the leather, where anytime that the shiny part of the leather, the good part of it, is going to be glued onto another part, you're going to need to rough that up before you glue it. So I end up using that quite a bit, and I'll bring up pictures of all these things that I actually use. I use A needle punch, because sometimes, you know, you'll get glue in a hole or something and you'll want to push that out, or you'll want to make a hole in something that you want to hand sew. So far, that's probably the tool I've used more than any other tool, just for crazy reasons. Or say you want to take some super glue and you want to put it just in the hole to make sure that the thread doesn't come out. It has a million uses, even when you're not working on leather. So I definitely would suggest having one of those around. A burnisher, I'm not even sure you absolutely need that, but I think it's super cool and it's a lot of fun to do. So why not? They're not that expensive. And the tokenol, of course, for the edges. It's actually kind of a glue polish kind of thing, and pretty much most professionals use it, and it works pretty well. So we're going to go into that in a little bit about finishing the edges. And as far as I'm on finishing in the edges, all you really need is this fabric marker to make your edges black. They're already going to come out a little black when you're done with the laser, but this will shine up the edges and leave them looking really nice. And then once you put the tokenol and do the burnishing, they look really nice. I don't go super crazy on that. There are some wallet manufacturers where that's their thing. I haven't really seen that people care that much about it, but you will see in the video that this is what they do and how to do it. Instead of getting all this stuff to be able to finish the edges, just the fabric marker works fantastic. The needles, of course, and the stitching pony. If you're new to lasers, you've probably never seen a stitching pony. I had never seen one, and I was graduated from fashion design school. I had no idea this thing existed, but it is the easiest way I've seen to do a saddle stitch on your leather, making leather wallets, and it's so much fun. It's so relaxing and zen. So you've got your pieces together. The first thing you're going to want to do is the tops of each of these, right? So what I generally do is I take this fabric marker and then I just blacken the tops, which I've done already on this one. But in this particular one, I'm going to actually use Angelus copper. And I have this, not necessary. I just kind of wanted to do it to add a little color to this, since it's kind of, you know, it's a beautiful olive, but I wanted to give it something. I'm going to put kind of copper looking thread on it as well, since I have it. Again, completely unnecessary. Just get the color you want to get. Okay, now that you've got the edges painted, what you're going to do is, as I said, one of the tools I actually use is this little rougher thing. You do not need this. You could use sandpaper, you could use a butter knife, you could use anything. But basically everywhere you could see where you're going to have this nice side of the leather match up against the rough side, you're going to want to rough that up. So let's start with this side. So you're going to see you're going to want it to be rough everywhere from here up to here. So what you can do is you can take this little needle thing and you can just mark kind of close to the end, not at the very end, because you'll be able to see that. And then anywhere up here is fine. It doesn't really need to go past where the holes are. So I do that, and just make sure that you don't go past those lines. So I like to go ahead and just mark up the areas right close to the lines. So these are the areas you're going to glue, where you're going to glue this together before you sew. So I just do that real quick, at least. And then on this one, we're looking here and here. And rough those up. So the reason why I do right up to the line immediately is because I have just gotten carried away and started roughing up the areas that will show. And obviously that can't be undone really. I mean, the stitching will show over a lot of that, but yeah, it's not great. When you're gluing, one thing that I like to remember is you want the glue to go all the way to the edge, because later on, after you sew it, then your edges are still going to be, you know, nice and flush and glued. So that's pretty important. You know, getting this whole area where it's going to be glued is important, but the edge especially. So I use Aqualim 315, the water-based. I've told you about that already. And I put it in I got this at the dollar store. Just something that makes it easier for me to squeeze onto something to do the gluing. So I just put a little bit of that here on the side. And what I use to actually spread the glue around, you know, this is just from a foam brush. So at the dollar store, you get, you know, a pack of these foam brushes for $1, and they come with the small ones. And I just rip off the foam, and this is what's below it. And it seems to work really, really well. For me, anyways. And it's super cheap for just putting on the glue. And then you just put the glue on. Now, in the video from Make Supply, you'll see they bevel the edges. I have an edge beveler, and I find that is, especially with leather that's this thin, is just not necessary, and sometimes causes a little more harm than good. So, and yes, if you have a really nice edge beveler and it's super sharp, you might be able to do a good job. But I find that you can mess up your entire piece just by messing up an edge bevel. So I think it's just fine without. You can leave a comment in the description if I'm insane. But I'm using a wallet now without it, and I have not noticed any difference. Now, if I was doing thicker leather, I think that it would probably be important. So there. Now I've got that glued up. Maybe used a little more glue than I usually do, but I think that'll be fine. And then you just match it up. Stick it on. Trying to keep your hands free of glue is important. You don't want to get that all over. Now, what I typically do is I look over the edge and make sure that they're tight together. This looks so perfect on this one. But I also check the holes and make sure that you can see through all of them, which I can perfectly. And then if it's not perfect, I will stick my little punch here through and just kind of move it a little bit until it gets perfect. But this one's already great, so I'm not even going to mess with that. And then, as you'll see in the video, they take a little hammer and then they tap this down. But I just tap it down with whatever I've got handy. Now, you want to get it as perfect as possible because this is really going to be the end. I mean, once you glue all this together, this will be, and you can sand it down, you know, but I think the best thing is to get it perfect right away if you can. And then you won't have to deal as much work on the back end, right? That's true for a lot of art, you know, doing it right or building things, you know, doing it right the first time just is a lot easier, you know. Photography too, a lot easier to get it right when you're editing, videoing or something like that than it is to go back and try and fix it in post. So that's great. Do my little tap, tap, taps. This whole process is, like I said before, very satisfying. It's I love the color of that copper there. I'm not sure if you can see it. Lighting inside here is not the best, but yeah, I think it's going to be gorgeous. So the next thing we've got to do, we're just going to do a saddle stitch on these 4 stitches. And you will start with the one that's on the inside. At least that's what works best for me. Because what you're doing is you're pulling the thread all the way through and then threading this way. So you don't have a double stitch here, you have a double stitch here. And then what I do is I actually start after we put this, after you have stitched these 4 stitches, then you can glue the whole wallet together. But you can't glue the wallet together and then do these 4 stitches. And I think that will make sense to you. And then what happens, we'll glue, which you don't need to rough anything up. It's already rough on both sides. So you're done with the rougher. And then you will just glue you will just glue these, yes, together and then sew them up. Okay, so as you can see, I did the edge paint a little crazy. I'm just having a little fun with this. So I did sew these top 3 and then glued it together. So it's glued together now. And my rule, you know, a lot of times they say 5 times the length that you want to sew. I do about 5.5 because, well, you start getting towards the end of it and you're like, do I have enough left? I don't like that feeling, so I'd rather just use a little bit more. But thread is expensive, so I suppose you can, you know, do what you will. I can't believe I'm saying thread is expensive. That's such a weird thought, isn't it? But this kind of stuff is. So I just wrap this around to get, there's 4 and 5 and then a little bit more. And what I usually do is I just go ahead and make 2 of them, because you're going to do one for this side and one for this side. You might as well have both of them available instead of having to do this whole process twice. Now you can learn a lot of what's happening through the video of Bake Supply, but you know, there's a lot of steps that I find that just aren't necessary, especially when you're first learning. Eventually, once you get this process down, you can start, you know, upping your game. But I feel like my wallets are turning out great. I'm very happy with them. And again, I use one every day and it works great. So, and it still looks great and I got no issues. So I'm just going to now saddle stitch this. I'm going to try and leave 2 saddle stitch videos in the description so that you'll have a good variety, but you can continue looking, you know, learning how to saddle stitch. It's kind of strange at first, but it ends up being super fun and super interesting. Once you get used to it, you can just really enjoy it. And then we'll get back and we'll do the edges. Okay, we're nearing the finish line here. Pretty much got it. It's all threaded up. All the insides are done. So now all I have to do is do the edge. So what I did is I kind of did from 300, I did up to 1200, but that's not necessary. But I just kind of got the edges nice and smooth. And then I'm going to edge paint. What you would do now is you would use the fabric marker and go all the way around that. And then you can use the tokenol. And I'm sure all of the people you watch that make leather wallets pretty much use this. It's a kind of a waxy, gluey stuff that goes on the outside. And then you use that handy dandy burnisher and just, you know, burnish the edges. But just make sure you let that marker dry really well. They never show you that in the videos. But yeah, let your, whatever you're going to put around the edges, make sure it's really dry before you do the tokenol and the burnishing, or else you might get some of that on the inside of the wallet. And if your wallet is a much lighter color, you're going to end up with black around the outside. It's not great. So take your time and do that. You know, making the video, it makes it seem like it's a very long, arduous, complicated process. But when you're doing it, and you know, now that I've done like 20 It's really not that difficult. It actually goes pretty quick, and it's a lot of fun to do. And, I'm watching or listening to other things while I'm doing it. So it's a really nice process. And then I will come back once I have done it. Of course, I'm using the copper, so this is going to be a very flashy wallet, but hey, something to do. And then I'll have this up on Etsy, and we'll see how long it lasts. Okay, so here it is, finally glued together and painted, edge painted. Now you can see the edge painting with this copper edge paint is not perfect. It's my first time doing it, but it really added a lot of pizzazz to this wallet. And it was looking just a little bit boring as far as, just olive green, but now it's certainly dynamic. I really like it. It is something that I would personally love to carry. But I hope you learned something in this video. You can go out and make your own now and probably far surpass anything that I've done. So please leave a comment. Let me know what I did right, what I did wrong, and what we could do better in the future. But I'm pretty happy with my wallets. And of course, the link for my Etsy shop is in the description with this wallet in it and everything else I'm doing. And we'll just continue together and grow and learn more about lasers. When you're using the Ritza Tiger thread, you can use a lighter and burn the ends when you're done, and it will kind of fill up that hole. I backstitch once, just with the front side, and then I burn it, and then I actually put a little bit of super glue in the holes, just because it makes me feel better that everything is going to be okay. So I use the end of my little punch and just barely put a tiny little bit of super glue in the hole after burning it. And, it's all satisfying. I think that's the number one reason why I enjoy making the leather wallet so much, because every step of this process is so satisfying. It's satisfying to use my laser and just watch it make this leather wallet and then take it off and then hand stitch it and hand glue it and then hand sew it. That's just very therapeutic. I watch a video, listen to music, whatever you feel like doing. And then when you're done, you burnish the edges, you mark the edges and burnish it. And the whole process, like I said, it just feels great. I hope everybody here gets a chance to do that. And let me know how you feel. Are you in love with this as much as I am? Are you going to make your own? If not, of course, feel free to go to my Etsy and buy one from me. You can see what this takes. And the process isn't cheap. Yes, I'm not making a ton of money on the wallets, but at the same time, I'm enjoying the process and I'm getting better at it. Getting my store kind of ramped up, so I actually I'm getting sales, which is nice. And then you get an idea of how much it costs to ship, what you need to charge, different things like that. So for me, it's all a win-win. And then I get to, show you guys how to do it. And for me, that's a lot of fun. And being able to get some feedback on what you do different and how it's worked for you and all these sorts of things is something I really would like to keep in touch on. So thank you for being here. If there's anything else I left out, please leave it in the comments and I will try to add it in another video.